Hello, everyone. Welcome to Crown of Glory podcast. Once again, I am grateful to host another guest, and this time round, we're going to talk about mental health and things concerning suicide. I know it's one of the topics that it's rarely talked about in the society, but the good thing is that we are brave enough to come out and talk about suicide, what causes suicide, and more about suicide. So, welcome so much, Mr. Stephen Ferry. Tell us who you are and share more about yourself.
Well, I am Stephen Ariopio for sure. A mental health educator, a suicide prevention advocate, and a psychosocial counselor with experience in mental wellness. I'm a licensed member of the Zambia Counseling Council, and I have a background experiences which enables me to serve and help people in various life circumstances. So with it, I am also an author of Why People Die and What to Do About It, a book which was published last year on the 10th of September. That was World Suicide Prevention Day. I'm also an author of Triumph Over Trauma, a book which is scheduled to be released this year. And also an IT specialist. Aside from mental health related issues, I'm also a media practitioner. I run a company called Subway Media, where we do photograph, videograph, graphic designing, branding, and painting. It's more of like I'm an a creative artist as well, a content creator, to put it in that ways, for sure.
Okay, so Mr. Steven, you authored a book by the name Why People Die by Suicide and What to Do About It. And this is one book that I have come across that talks openly about suicide, something that is not talked about in our society. And this reminds me that at some point in my life, I had some suicidal thoughts. And I want you to help us understand the relationship between mental health and suicide.
Well, there's actually a huge relation between the two. So mental health is basically the mental stability of a human. So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about a person who is, psychologically, emotionally, and socially well. So now this wellness means that a person is able to contribute to the society. This person is able to deal with life stresses, and a person is able to live a fulfilling life. Now, the relationship between suicide and mental health disorders or mental illnesses, actually, it's a one which we don't talk more about it. So whenever we talk about mental health, mostly we are referring to mental disorders. So it could be depression, it could be anxiety disorder, it could be bipolar, it could be schizophrenia, it could be all these mental disorders, on alcohol disorder. All these they contribute to one leading to suicide. So now the relation is usually happens in a situation where a person is unable to think clearly. Okay, here's a person with a distorted mental perception about life. Okay, you are seeing reality in upside down realm, where you are unable to connect with the reality. So these are the people who end up being diagnosed with the psychotic disorders, okay, the ones which I just mentioned earlier. So now when you have these, there's a possibility that you, without a shadow of doubt, can find yourself, having suicidal thoughts, or also, if not, even attempting, if you're not going to be prevented, or any preventive mental, if there will be no any preventive measures around you. So I think that's basically the link between the two. It's how when a person is unable to to help themselves, and then they are struggling to think properly, and now they need, and if that such a person is not helped, definitely suicide is mostly the possible outcome of that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I was shocked to find out that around 700,000 people die due to suicide every year. And that is really alarming to me. What can you say about that?
Well, actually, the figures are now 800,000 according to the latest World Health Organization updates, statistics. And already we are talking about people dying by more than those lost to HIV, malaria, breast cancer, or war, even including homicides. So the numbers are alarming for sure. This is definitely a call for action more than before, because I feel there's so much stigma around suicide that is leading to more cases of suicide. For example, we have this social culture, that the social stigma that is in our society, where you find people are not free to talk about their emotional pain, their psychological, challenges that they are facing in their lives. And there's this perception of, when you seek help, you are perceived to be weak, especially men. That's why we find that even the statistics show that men die by suicide more than women, even if women are more likely to die by suicide, because they are more, susceptible to depression and also suicidal thoughts. But men die by suicide more than women. So the statistics are truly alarming, and it's a sign that we definitely need to do something about it. And I think it's a call for action to all, and in our families, to open up and talk about issues. If you feel you're not okay, it is okay to talk about your emotions. And then this is something that should start from, in our homes. Parents should encourage their young ones, because now I realize that suicide happens regardless of age. For example, in our country, between 2019 and 2020, we find that 11 children died by suicide between the ages of 8 to 15 years old. And actually today, it is alarming to find that by the age of 8 understand the concept of suicide. So you see that anyone can potentially be a victim, So I think this is a sign that we definitely need to do more than before.
Well, thank you. Mr. Steven, I have a statement here. Kindly help us understand if this statement is really correct. When a person decides to take his or her life, there is nothing anyone can do to stop them.
Is that a true or false question?
Yes.
If a person is about to take his or her life, there's nothing we can do to stop him. Is that the question?
Yeah.
There is actually a number of things we can do to help a person not to take his or her life. However, the issue is, even if we try to help this person, are we going to put him in a position where he will change his mind? So the unstoppability of helping this person not to take his or her life still remains in his hands afterwards. For example, here is a situation. Recently in Zambia, there's a certain man who actually climbed a tower, wanted to take his life. So, people came and, they managed to talk him to change his mind. They tried to bring about all this concept to help him climb down. And fortunately, he did listen and climb. Now, if this person still or her life, even if we try, he can still find another way to take his own life. So in my book, actually, I talked about to say we should never confuse suicide prevention with healing from suicidality. So there is the prevention part and there's also the healing part. So to stop a person, definitely that is prevention. We can stop the person. But the healing part is where we deal with suicidality for good. So the answer is yes, we can help the person. However, we have to be near this person until we are sure that the person is healed. Without that, that person will still take his life.
Oh. Aside from mental health conditions mentioned earlier on, what are some other contributing factors for suicide?
Well, the contributing factors, there are quite a number of them. You see, there's no single factor cause of suicide. That's a misstructure. That's where the of suicide lies. There's no single factor. There's no one thing you can point at to say people die by suicide because of this one single thing. However, just to give you a broader understanding, number one, we have relationship disputes. This has been one of the leading suicide so far. Secondly, it has been financial challenges. Thirdly, mental disorders. And fourth, it has been, abuse, sexual abuse, dysfunction of people coming from dysfunctional families. And others, it could be, alcohol, substance abuse. That has been one of the leading cause of suicide as well. However, most of the times when this question is actually imposed on me, I don't like to answer it in this manner. So I did that just to angle. But however, this is the way I always make it easier for people to understand. I always say this, I have about 5 points. Number one, the contributing factors is this: suicide is inevitable if the only person you are talking to is yourself. So that means that when people are struggling and they are talking only to themselves, there becomes a challenge. That person will, without a shadow of doubt, take his life. Number two, suicide is inevitable if the only person you are asking for help from is yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, people do not seek help. That also leads to suicide, and that makes it even worse. Number three, suicide is inevitable if you let solitude become your comfortable attitude. This also happened to me. I've experienced this in most of times. You find that we tend to isolate ourselves, and then as a result, we have no one to, we lack interactions, because social connectedness is strong. Is the strong factor against suicide. So without that, you find when you are in isolation, you are weak, and that can also becomes the contributing factor to suicide. The other one is suicide is inevitable if you let silence become your loudest voice. These are the people who find that in situations they can't even, they don't want to say anything. They're just in their world where things are not moving. There's just this quietness, and then they're like, I'm better off if I die, because nothing is making sense and they have just closed their mouth. They don't want to say anything. And their silence is the only voice that they can hear. And to them becomes that a huge contributing factor. And the last one is suicide is inevitable if your mind become your coffin and your mouth become your grave. So this has to do, we tend to reinforce suicidal thoughts. When you have a single thought about dying or taking your own life, we start to, talk more or dwell more on those suicidal thoughts. As a result, we attract it and it leads to taking our own lives. Like I said in my book, whatever you think about, you bring about. Whatever you speak, you attract and you bring about. Whatever you feed on, you live on. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So this is where all the mental or the psychological makeup of a human being becomes weakened or pressed down until a person decides to say, you know what, I think it would be better off if I die than living. I mean, what's the point? There's no purpose for me to go on living. So I think these are the contributing factors of suicide.
Wow, awesome. Mr. Steven,
Yes.
now that we are in a society and a community and we all want to know, how can we know that someone has these suicidal thoughts? So what are the suicide warning signs?
Well, actually, what usually happens is that there are a number of signs and symptoms that are there when it comes to suicide. So, number one, even in my book, I said suicide is not an instantaneous act, it is an accumulative action. Okay, it is an accumulative act. So, what that means is that it's something that starts slowly. So, I would like to answer this question with my experience. So, by the way, I was a victim of suicide, twice, at the age of 16 and at the age of 24 in my life. So I remember I used to think, and also I used to think about dying and taking my own life when I was 16 years old. And this also happens in situations where I started thinking of suicide on behalf of my elder brothers. Whenever I see them, sad, or when they're mistreated in any way, I was like, he was going to take his own life, thinking he's going to do it. But in the actual sense, I was actually talking about myself. So number one, it's about the thoughts. Okay, so this could be people talking about death. Okay, that's the first sign. Okay, talking or writing or posting on social media about death, dying, or about my life is meaningless. If I could choose, I would prefer to never have been born. These are what we call passive suicide ideation. They just start, I wish God can just take my life. Remember, like Elijah, when he was suicidal, when Jezebel threatened him, those kind of thoughts are the ones that actually lead to attempting suicide. Another one is putting affairs and relationships in order. So this usually happens where people start to apologizing, they start saying sorry, I'm sorry about the way I mistreated you, and they start saying goodbyes to you. All of a sudden you're like, why is this person saying all these good things to me all of a sudden? Because they are preparing themselves to act on their thoughts. The other one, it could be withdrawing from friends, family, and the community. So I remember when I was suicidal, actually, I started staying alone at the age of 16. Just imagine, in my own house. Okay, the reason it was simple because I was running some businesses, so I was able to take care of myself. But that was wrong. That was not the right thing to do. I was young. The main motive behind me staying alone was that I was feeling though I was a burden to my family, and I wanted to distance myself. I wanted to isolate myself. Like I said, suicide is inevitable if you let solitude become your comfortable attitude. So I allowed this solitude to become my closest friend, my closest, my comfortable attitude, because I wanted my own space. Now, in that own space that I wanted, it was for me to do whatever I was thinking about doing. That is to end my own life. And until I nearly attempted suicide. So the other sign, it could be feeding, or it could be the changes in eating and sleeping. So I had difficulties in my eating and sleeping habit changed all of a sudden. It was very hard for me to sleep. I remember the way I struggled so much with all these things, all these behaviors and the emotions, the feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, having that outlook of there's no hope for me out there, there's no purpose for me out there. All these things are signs that we need to pay attention to. These are the signs that people show or exhibit in one way or another. So I believe there are countless ways on how people talk about or show the signs of dying by suicide, but these are the common ones that I've actually observed and seen based on research and my own experiences as well.
That's great. I am really learning a lot. And now that you're learning about suicide, the signs, leads to suicide, Mr. Stephen, what if a relative or a friend lets you know they are suicidal? What can one do?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
What if a friend or a relative shares with you or lets you know that they are suicidal? What can you do?
Number one, be present but not intrusively present. That's number one. So what that it means is that this person is calling for help. Okay? When a person threatens or says something about taking his or her life, number one, you have to be present but not intrusively present. What this means is that allow the suicidal person, if they are inclined to do so, without stopping or making them feel weak for doing so. Tears were meant to be shed on the floor, not to be held within the soul. So you have to allow them and tell them it's okay and normal to cry. It's okay to feel as though their life is ending, or maybe they want to take their own life. It's okay to be in the situation where things are not working out. Sometimes that's how but the key component is that you want to allow them as much time as they need to talk about their detrimental sentiments as well as their reasons for wanting to die. So by no means compare their troubles or to those of other people, or inject with your own stories. There's this situation where people start to say, no, even me, I'm going through this, what. The issue is that the person he or she is in need of someone to talk to or someone to lean on. So the first thing you do is be present, but not intrusively present. Do not interrupt the person. That's the first step. Now, and you need to know that if a person shows or says something about ending his life or her life, it is a sign that you have an opportunity to help that brother or sister. Number two is an active listener, not a passive listener. Okay, so what this means is that let your presence be felt, verbally or non-verbally, and empathetically. Be supportive and empathetic towards the individual, and pay careful attention to them. Show that you are paying attention by repeating what the other person is saying and clarifying key points so that they know you fully understand how they feel or whatever they are saying. Allow absolutely nothing or anything intrude in that presence. When someone is suicidal, they are sensitive and they pay attention. You may think as if they don't see what you're doing, but they are paying attention. All they need is someone to lean on. So now, if you can be an active listener, not a passive listener, it becomes very, very helpful to that person who is in need of someone to listen. Sometimes I discover that when a person is suicidal, they don't necessarily need someone to say something. They just want someone to listen to them. Okay. Once they listen, they feel relieved because they have so much in them that they need to express. But because they didn't find or had any opportunity to express what they have in them, it's what is eating them down. So now you, by being an active listener, you enable the person to let out the anger, the resentment that is in them. If they feel as though no one cares about them, you now show that you care, and that's the interpretation when a person is suicidal. The other thing is, be a mindful helper, not a sarcastic helper. So what this means is that I find there's some situation where people tend to be, judgmental when a person tends to be suicidal. They start posing all these, bad words. Don't, find that all of a sudden, instead of helping your brother to say in a respectful way and in a mindful way, they end up to say, you are not thinking of doing. Are you? Like you are posing something like that to a person who is on the verge of suicide. So we have to be mindful. It's not the time for bringing jokes at that particular moment. Let's be mindful. Let's know that this person is in need of my help, and I have to be sensitive whatever word I say. However, it does not mean that you should be afraid of words to say. You can say what you feel is right to say at that particular moment of time. Number two, you have to be confidential. You don't have to go, this is the last and the fourth one. You don't have to go and tell everyone out there of what I am going through because I've shared my experience with you, or to say I've to overcome this situation. Just maintain it. Let it be between you and me. Simple as that. If you want to share the story, it should be you yourself, not me sharing with other people. So the other thing is, after you've seen that the person is now stabilizing and he or she is now, showing that understanding of or withdrawing from suicidal thoughts, it doesn't mean that the person is now healed. No, it means that that person has been prevented from an act of taking his or her life. What do you do now here? You have to refer this person to someone higher than you. And this is where professional help comes in now. You say, I really care about you, but I feel it would be important if you take this step further of seeking counseling or therapy session. That's what it means to be a brother's keeper or a sister's keeper. It's so important. And the key point about all this is, try by all means to emphasize living as a valuable option. Because when you are suicidal, or when I'm suicidal, we reach at a point where we start feeling there is no reason for me to go on living. I have no purpose in life. I'm purposeless. No one cares. So you emphasize the importance of showing a person that living is a viable option and there is a way out to whatever they're going through. There are so many stages on how we can do about you can. However, the book actually shed more light on all these things. If you read the book, I talked about all these things in the book.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Steven. And right now, I want you to talk to the person who has these suicidal thoughts. What can he or she do at the moment?
Number one, don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Take a deep breath and reflect. Understand that truly you have a life. That's number one. Whatever is going through, whatever you're going through, or whatever happened to you, there's an end to it. Regardless of how small or big it is. Many people have passed through this. You too can make it. This too shall pass. There's no situation that cannot be handled. This is the situation that you can handle. But you don't have to give up. you have to be strong and hold on to your life, no matter what happens, because the life you are meant to live is within of possibility. There is a way out, and the only way out is a reason to live, not a reason to take your own life, because there's always these two ways. And right now, your life is in your hands. So just take a step, one step at a time. All these things you're going through will come to pass, and you look back and say, that was it. I was in hell. I'm in heaven. That's where I was as well. Just like you, I was on the verge of suicide. At the age of 16, I remember, closing the door, crying for almost an hour. And until I nearly attempted suicide, I wanted to end it all. But something kept me. I hold on to that prompting thought. Truly, there's gotta be another way out. This is not it. There's something more to it, to life. And that's what you're supposed to do. At the age of 24, I had these suicidal thoughts back on me. They were eating. The reason is because the struggles of my childhood were not fully dealt with. I was not fully healed. And there's so many things that you need to step back and understand. Why am I having these thoughts? Where is all things coming from? It's not just about what you're going through that is leading you to suicide. What happened in your childhood and other things that happen in your adulthood that you never attended to. And they are all coming together to put you in this position. And now this is an opportunity. It is a sign. Actually, this is what your body and your brain is telling you, that there's some things that you need to deal with. Now, it's not to end your life to deal with them. It is to confront them and deal with them once and for all. Otherwise, you can make it. You love yourself. Start now. Love yourself, and you'll see that truly there is a way out. And the way out, the only way out, is a reason to live, of which is that you have already.
Ooh, that's so powerful. Wow. So the last thing we're going to tackle today is prevention and control of suicide.
For sure. Actually, I really enjoy the past. Actually, I think that's what we want us to talk more, because you see, what's the point of identifying a problem without giving the solution to it? Doesn't make sense, for sure. So we talked about the 4 steps, which I said suicide is inevitable if the only person you are talking to is yourself, if the only person you're asking for help is yourself, if you let solitude become your comfortable attitude, if you let silence become your loudest voice, if you let your mind become your coffin and your mouth become your grave. These are the things that lead to suicide. And many people who died by suicide, it was because of all these 5. Now, what can we do to prevent the inevitability of suicide? Number one, the most important is accept the need for help. As simple as that. Accept the need for help. It's all about adhering to the needs. You see, life is full of needs. And when you are in a situation where you want to take your own life, you are trying to fulfill, and that need must be attended to. And it is the need of acceptance, the need for help. You see, many people really want to help you, but because you don't ask or show that you are in need, they don't know when they can. So you have to accept this need, that I need help. This situation that I'm going through, it is a sign that I am in need of someone or in need of help. That's the first step. Number two, accept the need for social connectedness. Remember, I said isolation is the strongest predictor of suicide. So prevention is the opposite of isolation, which is interaction. The need for social connectedness. We are all social beings, and social connectedness is a need, not a want. Why is this so important? Well, you see, when you are socially connected, you feel a strong sense of acceptance, because by talking to the way I'm talking to you right now, I feel accepted because you are listening to me. I will feel loved because you are with me. I will feel a sense of belonging. I belong here. And as a result of that, I'll be hopeful, thereby increasing the likelihood of asking for help and reducing the risk of what? Of suicide. So you have to accept the need for social connectedness. So this could be, finding time to spend some time with family members. It could be, your workmates. It could be your cousins. It could be going, attending church, praying, it could be sports, exercising with other people. All these, trying by all means to establish relationship with other people. This is a very strong protector of suicide. Number third is accept the need for self-help. So now self-help becomes in many ways. It could be reading a book, it could be journaling, it could be, listening to sermons. For example, as in for me, when I was struggling with my own suicidal thoughts, I find myself in situations where I was able to curb these suicidal thoughts by listening to, audiobooks, both morning and evening before retiring to bed. I would listen to, sermons, listen to books that were helpful and inspiring me. Those are the things that really helped me. That's what self-help is all about. Remember, it's all about ensuring that you are cleaning your mental stability. You're feeding on things that will, will change the way you perceive life, because it's all about perception. Like I said, you don't have to let your mind become your coffin and your mouth become your grave. So how do you do this? Is by renewing your mind. Now, how do you renew your mind? It's by feeding on productive and things that will uplift you. The other component is accept the need for professional help. I see a number of people tend to shy or put this aside or be ashamed for thinking, well, I'm not, a person with a disorder. But when we talk about professional help, it's not about only when you have a mental disorder. It's about seeking help. Remember, the first component is about accepting the need for help. So you're trying to take it further to the next level. There could be some certain things that you are missing out as you help yourself, or other people that are not able to give or help you. So these are professional people who are trained. They will try their own means to help you navigate. It could be something that is coming from your childhood, because suicidality is also genetic. This is something that can be inherited. It can be from your father. It could be from your grandparents. So you need to understand, where are these things coming from. When you know where they're coming from, you will know why this is happening, and you will find better ways to overcome them. The other one is accept the need for spiritual support. So now, spiritual support, it could be going for pastoral counseling. It could be being a spiritual person. I believe we are all spiritual beings. Now, when I talk about spiritual support, it could be finding help in divine providence, comfort, attending, going to church. If you are a church person or religious person, you belong to any religious group, you go there and attend. there you will find also social connectedness to be helpful, because being in the presence of God, it actually helps a lot. And I've seen a number of people who've been healed just by doing that, finding accepting the need for social support. The other one is accept the need to save lives. So now that you are better and you are good, and now you are able to take care of yourself and also to prevent suicide on your own, you have to go there and help others. Because like we say, the numbers are alarming. I mean, there's so much. People are dying. 800,000 now. That's too much. So you have to find this need to now be a brother's keeper. And by so doing, you're also helping yourself. I always have this mantra with me to say, whatever I do for others, I do for myself. Whatever I do to others, I do to myself. So when you reach at this point, this is the last point, you are trying by all means now to extend this need to bring others to heaven, taking them, leading them, moving them from hell, because suicidal thoughts is hell. I always call that's hell. When you don't have suicidal thoughts, you are in heaven. So now you are inviting them to heaven, to where you are. I think these are the major steps that I would like in brief. However, in my book, actually, I explained more about all these things. So I'm just giving just nuggets from the book. So these are the things that you can do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stephen. I am actually learning a lot, and I'm encouraged to take someone from hell to heaven. And lastly, I thought of someone who has already attempted suicide, and the act has not been successful. So how should he react, and how should the society react towards him or her, that is?
Well, I always say that the solution to all this thing is love. If we can show love and accept and embrace this brother or sister who nearly or who attempted suicide, I think it can bring so much joy in his life or in her life. I always say, instead of punishing this brother or sister, instead of mocking or judging to say, so what were you thinking? Or what is putting all these bad words, instead of doing all that, we must show love. You say, we love you and we want you to live a good life, and we are here for you. We are here to help you. And now, talk to us. How can we best help you? I think if we start with love, accepting our brothers and sisters who have attempted suicide, they'll find it easier for them to heal. They'll find it very easy for them to open up next time when they struggling or wrestling with suicidal thoughts in their lives. Because I will tell you this. When I was actually struggling with suicidal thoughts, I never. There was no one for me there was no person for me to turn to at the age of 16. There was no one to talk to. I didn't know what to do with those suicidal thoughts. And no one in my family ever talked about therapy or suicidal or mental health or trauma or anything of this. No one has ever talked about that. So I didn't know who to run to. And because of that, I nearly attempted suicide. So now if we show love, that this person has attempted or nearly attempted suicide, we show love. Be kind to this brother or sister. It is the first step to healing, and that is the thing that we have to always do. That's number one, accept and show love. Apart from that is, let's refer a brother or sister to a counselor or a therapist so that they can be helped further. Like I said, you cannot diagnose yourself. I see many people whenever they talk about depression, I'm depressed, or depression. Depression is so many things. Depression it means so many things. It's not a one answer or a straightforward answer to say I'm depressed. What are you depressed about? Or how is it that you're depressed? So depression is in two ways. There is a mental disorder as depression, and there's also depression having a breakdown, or depression, where you are in a situation where you're failing to help yourself, and you are depressed in that situation. So we need to refer a brother, take this brother, or advise our brother, you have to go for therapy and counseling session, my brother, so that you can be helped further. I can help you, but there's something that I cannot do, and these people can help you in areas where I'm lacking. So that's the other thing. From there, then we have to continue embracing and accepting our brothers and sisters who've attempted suicide, and until they will heal. I think that's the simple and straight path to healing or wholeness.
Wow, great. Okay. In a nutshell, Mr. Steven, what are your last words to our dear listener?
Well, my last words are simple as love yourself first. So much. Be full of yourself. Because when you love yourself, you cannot hurt yourself in any way. And since you cannot hurt yourself in any way, or harm yourself, or punish yourself so badly that you feel that taking or ending your life is the only option, definitely never at any point do anything to others that is bad. Therefore, love yourself first. Be full of yourself. I know people say you shouldn't be full of yourself, but you have to be full of yourself. You have to love yourself so much that you will be in a position you can't help it not to share it with other people. That's the first step. Love yourself. Number 2 is live more. Be excited about life. Just enjoy the challenges that comes with it. To say, oh, well, here is another day. This challenge, I'm going to do it. Life is full of ups and downs. It's the way it is. You can't run away. So you have to embrace it. It's adventurous. Therefore, improve yourself, change yourself, see how best you can be excited about life and embrace it. Third, always be open and receptive to all good. Find ways to motivate yourself. Look into the mirror and say to yourself, I love you so much. I am proud of you. I approve of you. Now you have to impose these affirmations to yourself, like in this manner. I love you so much, Steven. I approve of you. I am in support of you, and life is in support of you. You put all these nice words and say, I am receptive to all good, and all things works out for my good. Whatever I need to know is revealed to you, to me. Whatever you need will come to you. Be open to life and see how much you can live it. I think it's all boils down to self-love. If we can love ourselves so much, so many things that we can do in this life. So just love yourself. Go out there, love yourself, embrace yourself, put some self-care on you, and invite others. Share that love with other people. Then you will see that for sure there is always a way out, and suicide is never, and it will never be the option in your life.
Oh, great. I'm gonna put some love on myself and appreciate myself and be open to what life has for me. Thank you so much. And how can we get access of your book? And kindly with us your social media handles for anyone who wants to reach out to you for more.
Awesome stuff. So the book is soon to be on Amazon. We were just working on the revised version of Why People Die by Suicide and what to do about it. There are some few things that we wanted to add and a few things that we wanted to clarify in the book. That's why we actually decided to have it online. So the book will soon be on Amazon, probably between July, August. Between these 2 months, available online. You can find me on Facebook, Stephen Ariel Perry, on Instagram, Stephen Ariel Perry, on YouTube, Stephen Ariel Perry, on LinkedIn, Stephen Ariel Perry. The name is the same. Actually, for now, we can do shipping. If you are not within Zambia, we can deliver the book, by shipping or flight. We can find the ways on how we can, have the book delivered to you. And the book is still going at 200 kwacha in Zambian currency. And you can reach out at any time you would like to have a copy, and we will definitely find ways. You can send the request via our social handles or a direct mail, that is stephen518@gmail.com.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Mr. Stephen Ariel Perry, for finding time and joining me at Crown of Glory podcast to discuss such an essential topic and a great topic. I have enjoyed the conversation, and above all, I have learned a lot. Things that I was ignorant about, and now I know that they really matter. At the beginning, I say that I was once I once attempted suicide, but it wasn't successful, and that is one thing that people don't know about me. And I was really young. I actually, at the age of 10 years, what made me try to commit suicide? I felt a lot of pressure around me and more personal issues. But right now, I really thank God that I never made that choice. So thank you so much for finding time, being here. You're a blessing to everyone, Crown of Glory family. And you're welcome again and again. And we are looking forward to host you as many times as possible here. Talk to us about mental health, how to deal with our trauma, and I'm talk about being a trauma soon here.